Hey, now it's time for us to make parsley boxes. Another competition coming up, and we're getting ready by doing this at home so that when we get to the comp, we can do our flipping process. There are a lot of different ways of making parsley boxes, of putting them together, and eventually everyone develops their own system, what feels more comfortable to them. The other consideration is that you're going to have to make boxes that are fitting for chicken, ribs, pork, and brisket. Typically, chicken and ribs require a garnish which is very low to the bottom of the box, whereas pork and brisket can be a little bit higher and make for a better presentation. I'm going to start off by making this box. Sometimes when I start, I don't know if I'm going to make a chicken rib box or a pork brisket box. Just depends on the way that it comes together. This parsley was washed and previously trimmed, and I refrigerated it. And refrigeration makes the blossoms or the blooms a little bit more crisp and gives them a little bit more body, so they sort of bloom. Sometimes you can buy parsley that's a good grade, meaning that it's nice and green and the blossoms are small but not too small and make for really nice blossoms in the box. And sometimes you'll get parsley where the leaves are huge. The only consideration here is that whatever you do, that you're consistent. Sometimes when you can't get good parsley, the alternative is to do kale. And I have done kale boxes quite often. Just so happens when I went into the grocery store today, there was some fairly decent looking parsley. It wasn't the best, I've seen a whole lot better, but it was pretty good for what I needed to do and how I can do this presentation. If you have a hard time getting good parsley, then what you can do is save all your really nice leaves to go around the border and put in the middle some of the parsley that may not be as pretty looking. I start out by trying to do my borders, getting them going, and then I fill in the middle a little bit later on. And what I do, in case I did that off camera, is I try to make the leaves, where all the leaves are together, to make a nice little bouquet, if that's a word I can use for parsley. And then I snip off the little bottom part there and fill it in. Then I'm looking at these little leaves, and they are a little bit larger than some of these leaves. So I think I'm going to take this one off and use it to go in the inside. Something like that. And typically the meat will cover those blossoms, so when the judges go to judge appearance, they'll see the uniform leaves around the edge, and will have already put their score in place once they remove the meat. Now, some people describe making parsley boxes as being very tedious and time-consuming, and it is. However, it can also be sort of like a mindless little thing you do. Watch a little television, sit here and make the box. put on your favorite podcast or barbecue radio show, and then make your boxes and sit there listening, and it just passes the time away, and at the same time gives you something to do with your hands to get your boxes in order. Sometimes I'll come across a leaf, even though I went through and previously trimmed this one, it's a little yellow, and I never use yellow leaves. I always throw those away. The other thing that's important to do is always have extra parsley on hand when you get to the competition, because sometimes if you do the boxes in advance, then your some of the leaves may discolor and you'll have to replace them. Or what happens too is that you'll see little things that you didn't see before where you need to fill in and put extra leaves or replace some that don't look as nice as you previously thought they did, and replace them with some more. I try to keep stems from dropping into the box, but sometimes they do. As long as you can't see them, then it's okay. Then once I get to the point where most of the area is covered, then I fill it in to make it look more like a putting green. The most important areas for doing that would be around your borders. I've heard judges say before that they wish that us competitors would not put the parsley so that when you pick up a piece of meat, you've got parsley all over it. Well, you know, my response to them is, you're judging the meat, not the parsley, so just wipe it off. But then you're going to get some screwy judges who, just because they have to do that, and it's not right, but they may grade you down for having a piece of parsley on the meat. I think it's ridiculous, but you know, we all know that some judges aren't as objective as they should be, and sort of put their own sort of take on how they think things should be done. Sorry, judges, but it's true. I've got a lot of friends out there who are judges, and you know, there are some that are very good, there are some that are harsh. Okay, so now I'm doing the process of filling in the holes and just making it look a little bit more tight and pleasing to the eye. And when you're doing this part, you can just take some of the blossoms that look really, really nice and just sort of stick them in there so that they form a uniform coverage going around. This box is developing into a pork or brisket box. And as I mentioned before, sometimes when I start a box, I'm not sure what I'm going to make it for. The blossoms just sort of tell me. However, once you've done 2 boxes and they're pork brisket boxes, then you know, or I know, I need to spend more time concentrating on making the appearance where the garnish is further down into the box. And I wear gloves. And the gloves aren't for any sanitary reasons, because I do wash my hands also, but they're more so because a lot of the moisture in doing all the boxes makes your hands sort of, you know, that, I don't know what you call it, where they look weird. So I take the time to use the gloves so that my fingers don't get all soggy, I guess is the word I want to use for it. and I pack around the edges. Doing this knowing also that these blossoms are going to bloom a little bit more, and they will move around as they bloom, so that when I'm doing the actual box at the competition, once again go and sort of make the edges look even, because once you have the meat in there, it paints a better picture of or frames the meat like a picture, where it just looks so much better. And a lot of times you don't judge the garnish, but the garnish can also take away from the appearance of the meat. So just to be aware of that. The other thing that I do, I'll stand up sometimes and sort of look down on the box so that I can see, okay, are there areas that I can't see while sitting down that need to be filled in? And you also see things like I just pulled a stem out of there that probably fell as I was prepping one of the other pieces of parsley. And once I'm pretty happy with the box, I have a tendency to just keep on playing with it, and I have to stop myself sometime and say, hey, that's as good as it's going to get for now, and go from there. So I still see a few holes that probably need to be filled in, so let's do those. And keeping in mind, this area right in here is most likely going to be covered by meat. So therefore the judges won't see it anyway. So I have to step back and say, okay, Sylvie, go back to the edges. What needs to be fixed on the edges? I don't know if I mentioned before, but kale is also a very popular garnish. It's just that kale sometimes just doesn't have, to me anyway, that pop that parsley gives a box. So I'm going to say to myself again, that's enough of this box. Then I say that, what happens, I look at one little area and I say, well, maybe one little thing can go in there. Okay, then once you've got the box fairly ready, then I take a paper towel and I fold it to fit the inside of the box. Put it over the grains, and I spray it with water. And that's just to keep it moist. While it's in the refrigerator, so that the blossoms don't dry out. Then we just take the box and close it up. Then you say, what does she mean by flipping the boxes? Well, I can take this box to the competition, but I cannot turn my meats in using this box that I used at home. So what I do then, and let's say that I have a second box, which is the ones that the reps have given me, which has my number on the outside. So what I'll do at the competition is I'll take the box that I prepared, open it up, and then I'll take the box that they gave me at the competition and I'll put it over one side of the box, turn it over, and I give it a little pat. Then I pull up, and this is the bottom of the parsley. Then I'll take the bottom of the box given to me at the competition, pull it over, and flip. And then we open it up. And this is my flipped box at the competition. Makes it so much easier. Okay, let's go on to doing more boxes. I'm going to try to make this a chicken box or rib box, which means I'm going to try to get the parsley low in the box so that the ribs and the chicken stand pretty high, so that they'll have room so that when you close the box, you don't get any sauce or anything on the top of there, or you don't interfere with the appearance of the meats once the judges open the box and they look at it. Then I go in and select other pieces which, for an outer rim, are the best looking parsley pieces. And remember, I'm trying to keep this low to the bottom of the box. And as you see, I sort of break off the bottom stems. Then I take those stems here and I try to place them under the previous blossom that I put into the box. So that's pretty much filling in the bottom of the box. Now I'll go through and put in parsley to fill in the little gaps and little holes to try to make it look a little bit more like a pudding green. And there you have it. The basis for a chicken or rib box. Now, since the chicken and the rib box usually are lower in the box, I usually take a filler to put on top of the paper towel to hold it in place so that when I flip it, it has less room for air to move about and it's a little tighter packed. So I'll take some of the parsley I have from here and I'll just stick it in there. And this parsley then also will serve as some of the extra that I have in case I need to fill in parts of the boxes. We close it up and refrigerate. Parsley boxes for competition barbecue.